Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the Cosmic Madonna, the rising feminine. We'll take you through a journey of the mystical to the mundane, as until we recognize that the mystical is in the mundane, that the mystical lives and breathes in the mundane. And when we embrace that, our lives will be all the more richer. While this session is not about this painting behind me, The Cosmic Madonna by Salvador Dali, it was inspired by him, which is recently, this painting has been shown publicly for the first time after being in a private collection for 50 years. Synchronistically, it showed up, it popped into a Unity Earth meeting, and it ignited a dynamic dialogue. All the people in this emerging dialogue felt that it was literally guided by the Cosmic Mother. So one might ask, what's the meaning of this painting making an appearance at this time in history? One might ask, what does the Madonna have to say, and to whom? This painting is from Dali's nuclear mysticism era, which is when he was struggling with spirituality and his study of quantum physics way ahead of his time. So we ponder whether Dali may have foretold the movement of evolution, because as you see, the right side is the masculine side, and it's dissolving into the cosmos. And the left side, the feminine side, is strong. And so could this be the rising of the feminine, both in men and women? And so we would like to ponder this today and see where this takes us, because as the patriarchy dissolves to a certain degree and the feminine rises, which is the left brain and the right brain and the collaborative side of us working together, is how we build the new earth. Before we go any farther, I'd really like to invite our dear sister, Anasuya Isaacs, who is, we call her the mystic midwife. And so I would like to ask her to open this field here for us to really embrace the opportunity to hear, to listen to what this rising feminine may have to say, because it is in listening that we learn. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you, Anasuya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janice, and the Unity Earth Gathering. Thank you, Ben Bowler, for organizing this wonderful event with all of your partners who have been geniusly putting together a phenomenal gathering of minds, hearts, and souls. So on this note, let us all just come together. Come together now in one beautiful breath. Let's inhale all of the goodness of life, and then exhale all worries and doubts and fears and stress. We're going to inhale again all the beauty and love of life and of the Cosmic Mother, and then release all the stresses of the day and of life. And one more time, inhale the remembrance of your innate divinity, and exhale long and slow all of the lies you've been told about how amazing you really are. And now, let us close our eyes and put our hands on our heart and feel that pulse, feel the beating. We didn't do anything to make our heart beat. We're not even doing anything to make our breath go in and out. That is divine grace. And I say that is the grace of the Holy Spirit, which in Aramaic and in Hebrew is feminine, and in Kabbalah it's the wife of God, making that Trinity make a lot more sense. So it is Mother's love that beats in our hearts, that pours through our breath, that enlivens us and makes us able to be here in this present moment Feel her heart beating in ours as we once laid in her womb and heard her beat as the passing of time, as the refraction of love, as the rhythm of source. Feel that same beating heart now. We have gathered here today in recognition and in honor of all the ways that the Cosmic Madonna comes to us, through us, for us, in us, and as us. We're here today across planets, probably across continents, oceans, languages, time zones, currencies, to remember the oneness, that we really are all her children. Therefore, one family. We may not look it, we may not sound it, but there are still facts out here. So we just thank you for this opportunity that in this moment, as we gather together for Unity Week, starting the 99 days of peace, that we have come together to say our unity and our peace stems from remembering who we are and whose we are. And that in that moment of recognition of who we belong to and who's coming through us, that we are able to hear solutions and come up with new ideas and invoke and spark new imaginations about what can be in terms of peace and unity on earth, because we remember that we started off in the womb and only 10,000 years ago. And before that, God was a woman. So when we remember where we came from, it's so easy to step into the future that we co-create here in this gathering, here in this holy circle, back here in this invisible womb again. Thank you for bringing all of your genius and talent to this circle and your suggestions and ideas. May these 99 days that we are together bring forth the solutions the earth needs, humanity needs, children need, breath needs. And with that, I say, welcome. You are loved. You are welcomed here. Know how amazing and needed you are. Ashe, amen, aho.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Anasuya, sister, for that beautiful invocation. I'm Ben Bowler from Unity Earth. I'm honored to be asked to be a part of this incredible panel discussion dedicated to the Cosmic Madonna. And of course, the catalyst was this extraordinary painting you see behind me over here from Salvador Dali, which you heard Janice talk a little bit about before, an extraordinary feminine leadership that rallied around and wanted to bring out the meaning and the insights that are embedded in this incredible work of art. So that's a particular catalyst for this conversation. The general subject is the great mother herself. And I was reflecting that as our 99 days in this World Unity Week are devoted to this idea of a new earth rising, if a new earth is rising, then something must be being born. And if something new is being born, then someone is giving birth. And I was reflecting on that in the context of what Anasuya was just sharing about, that these ideas and this concept and this devotion to the Great Mother is as old as humanity itself. And perhaps over the last 1,500 years or however many it's been, for many different reasons, the Great Mother has been in the shadows. Has been in the shadows, particularly through our European culture, not only through our European cultures, but definitely strongly through our European cultures, the Great Mother has been in the shadows. So this moment of honoring the Cosmic Madonna, the rising feminine, the new earth rising, this new birth, no longer the Great Mother is in the shadows. The Great Mother is coming out of the shadows. And that's what this conversation is all about. So with great thanks to everybody who's pulled this together in this beautiful ceremony of honoring the divine mother, the cosmic mother, from which we all come. My honor is to introduce one of our keynote speakers, who is the extraordinary and the legendary Riane Eisler. And Riane is an absolute thought leader and heart leader in this space. Riane, it's great to see you again. Of course, famously in 1987, you wrote the seminal book, The Chalice and the Blade, where you start really laying out the distinction between dominating cultures and partnership models. 1987. Think about how much you have been, and we've been building upon your work since then. Oh, more than 500,000 copies around the world, more than 25 languages. But what's exciting now is the brand new book that Riane has released just this year, Nurturing Our Humanity. I would invite everybody to find out more about it. Riane, welcome to the Cosmic Madonna.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for doing this wonderful program. I am very moved by what you have done. Now, as Ben said, in The Chalice and the Blade, which, by the way, it has legs. I mean, it's in its 57th US printing at this point. But also in a book that he didn't mention, Sacred Pleasure. The subtitle is Sex, Myth, and the Politics of the Body. I reveal discoveries that we all are called upon now to spread. That yes, what we have to create is something new, but the configuration of what we have to create is actually very ancient. It goes way back to our foraging days, and after that, even to the Neolithic. And I'm going to be nonlinear here because we have so little time. But if you think of the cover of The Chalice and the Blade, it's a little goddess figurine. But she is part bird. She's called a bird goddess. We're talking about unity, about interconnection, and she is phallic in shape, but she has breasts. Now, that figure encapsulates really, in many ways, the old worldview that we are reconnecting with. And in Sacred Pleasure, I make the deduction, really, that a lot of what we call mysticism is actually what happened after the shift from what I call a partnership model of being and of organizing the way we live, the way we love, to a domination or dominator way. And what happened is that this had to go underground. And the Shekinah had to be concealed in the Kabbalah, and so forth. So please, if you can, read these books, because they will give you what you need to be what we need so much at this time of so many challenges, of so many issues, when really we need to reconnect with the ancient wisdom of our interconnection, of the interconnection of all life, which is even being verified today in quantum physics. I don't know how many of you know about that. The rise of the feminine is really the rising of our suppressed humanity in both women and men. What we have coded feminine has been devalued in both women and in men. Think of how many women have been socialized and traumatized, yes, because domination systems are trauma factories, beginning in families very often, in punitive families, all the way to our economic system, which creates artificial scarcity. I have another book on that called The Real Wealth of Nations. So we have the opportunity now, because the old systems are not meeting our challenges. They are not working, to create a Well, to reconnect with our partnership roots, with, yes, with the cosmic mother, with the great mother, but not to create a matriarchy, which is not the opposite of patriarchy. It's really just the other side of the coin. Either mothers or fathers dominate, but to create a partnership culture. And there are many trends in that direction. And I don't know how much time I have left. So will somebody give me a 1-minute notice so that I can wind down? Because there's so much I want to share, but go to our website, to centerforpartnership.org. Go to my website, which is Rian Eisler with 2 E's in the middle.com. And really, the research is now being verified by archaeology, by even DNA studies, showing that there was this shift in our prehistory away from the knowledge of our unity, away from this idea that is really part of so much of the ancient wisdom. But then there's the nomination overlay in all of our scriptures. We need to sort these out. And it's a difficult project because a lot of people really are misled, are told lies about our past, and are told lies about what is at the core of our real knowledge, of our real religion, if you will, of our real understanding, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But think of all the overlay to that. So I'm sure that I must be out of time. So I will stop. But you are all very, very, very important as part of this process of transformation, not to a matriarchy, but from a domination system to a partnership system. So thank you, and I will come back for a little bit later.
Janice is going to introduce you.
Thank you, Rian. You're an inspiration to me. And in fact, as the Cosmic Madonna rose in dialogue amongst us, everyone in this plenary brought your name to the table at one point or another as an inspiration in their lives for their connection to the divine feminine. So we are especially enthusiastic about having your divine presence with us right now. I'd like to introduce you to my dear longtime friend, Duncan Campbell, who it's hard to put him in just a couple of words because his background is vast, but he holds the microphone for a radio show with 4 million listeners around the globe on KGNU, which is a public broadcast station out of Colorado called Living Dialogues radio program. It's about transformation of consciousness. And Duncan has been a pioneer in the transformation of consciousness from his very early start with Harvard and Yale. And he was probably the first who came to the table, came to the administration of Yale to suggest that it was time for Yale to be co-ed. And his interest in the feminine rising has been deep and vast. And he's probably, I'm a little bit prejudiced, but I consider Duncan one of the most articulate and deepest thinkers that I know on the planet. So thank you, Duncan, for being here with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Janice, for that lovely introduction. And I have known you since we were together at the Earth Summit, all the way back in 1992. And we've been dear friends ever since, and many overlapping interests. And before I tell you a little bit about what I talk about on Living Dialogues in terms of teachings and sharings and co-creating with all my guests. I just want to mention that as I do say sometimes on my programs, including the one that is up right now on my YouTube channel, which is a dialogue, co-creative dialogue and personal storytelling with Saffron Rossi, who edited the great collection of Joseph Campbell's writings, not published before his death, that she brought together from the vault of the Pacific Graduate School with untranscribed tapes and so on, and put together a beautiful book entitled Goddesses, Mysteries of the Feminine Divine. So you can get that on YouTube. And you will see many of the themes that we're talking about here. And one of the things that I mentioned on that program is that my own first conscious memory was being here in the world. No specific location, like not my bedroom or whatever, but just being here on Earth, in the world. And feeling the mystery and the wonder and the awe of that, and knowing that that was why I was here, was to experience that as much as possible and to share that with other people and help guide them to resources that would encourage and open that experience even further. So early on in elementary school, I made a big connection with Mary. Third grade, I wrote a paper called Refuge of Our Lady. And as my vocation grew during the years, it was very clear to me from the beginning that what is sometimes now in a fancy term called complementary dualism, meaning the dynamic interrelationship between masculine and feminine, was core to this whole experience. And about 30 years ago, a vision, you might say, arose spontaneously, unbidden, and to tell the following story, which I have told over the years in a way that shows the life story of the species. And it begins with the anthropologist describing our ancestors from the very beginning as experiencing what they call mystical participation, or participation mystique, if they want to be fancy. And what it means is simply that they experience themselves necessarily for their survival as being embedded as part of a fully alive cosmos, and an integral part of it, where, as we know from the Vedas and Upanishads thousands of years ago, that the planets are alive with energy fields. In Vedic astrology, the stars are alive with energy fields. The mountains and the mineral kingdom are all alive with the song lines that the Aborigines in Australia talk about. Of course, the animals are alive with consciousness, and are the plants. And so we're in a fully alive universe. And what happened was, in the hunter-gatherer days, there was a division of labor, physiological, between the masculine and the feminine, that made a lot of sense. And after that period, when we got into the beginnings of agriculture, as the great Maria Gimbutas has pointed out, there was 3,000 years of the first era of settled agriculture, where the goddess was the main inspiration, an egalitarian society of men and women together, and very much inspired by nature and what today we call, in the Lakota language, all our relations. And so at that point, everything was really going along in the birthing process, but at some stage, and some years ago, the patriarchy emerged with settlers coming in that were herders and so on, as Joseph Campbell has brilliantly described. And we launched into the masculine adolescent modern mind. And we became much more not an I-thou relationship with nature, but an I-it, and dominating and relying on reason. not the full panoply of intuition and imagination and so on, which is being called forth now with the rise of the great feminine, very necessary to our situation right now. And we're on the verge of, as I was shown 30 years ago, and this is why I started my program. I was told to have a place on the dial to actually convert people from interview to co-creative dialogue. So when they listened, they would see themselves in this co-creative dialogue and not looking for some expert outside themselves. So the very way that these dialogues are conducted is in itself an experience where the deep listening audience is honored as the third leg of the stool and an absolutely essential evoker of the consciousness. So that's where we are now. We're at the end of the patriarchy. We're at the last spiral of the patriarchy. I believe we're in the patriarchy death throes with a lot of chaos flopping about, but I can take great inspiration from people like all the people that are here listening to this particular sharing about the Madonna and child and all the people that are being called to articulate that in this particular panel. It's a great honor for me to actually share this and to be sharing with all of the deep listeners, because I can feel that it is their deep listening and their readiness for transformation that has called forth this event. And Rianne Eisler, such great pleasure to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Duncan. And on that note, I'm going to invite us all to do some deep listening beyond words. We're about to take a 4-minute journey called The Divine Feminine, a video by a little mini movie by Colors in Motion. The watercolors by Linda DeHart, who was very instrumental, by the way, in this panel. She was one of the people on the Unity Earth Zoom when this painting popped up, that as an artist, she saw all the different layers and invited and invoked a deeper conversation. So what we're about to see is based on her watercolors, the music of Josh Hummel, the aurora photography of Dirk Obudzinski, because he actually took this directly into the aurora borealis above, and the digital composing, we thank Christopher Grafe. So we will be taking a beautiful contemplative immersion into the divine feminine by a journey through the aurora borealis. Take a deep breath with us.
I'm Joan Bowler. I'm from Australia, and I am the mother of Ben and many others. We have just seen this beautiful video in motion to bring us into focus of the Cosmic Madonna. It's an astonishing painting by Dali, who has appeared recently on Zoom, as mentioned. And in discussion with Linda and her amazing insight, this has inspired me to look back over my life and how the Madonna has influenced me personally as a Catholic child. My mother and sister were called Mary. I was in the solidarity of Mary at school. The feminine factor in my life is very strong. I am part of an all-girl family, went to an all-girl boarding school and into the profession of nursing, specialising in maternal midwifery and maternal and child health nursing, community nursing. I had 6 children and increasing the experience and attention to duty. This could be classified as mundane. As a young midwife, I was in awe of what that meant. In fact, it was sometimes unbelievable, really, shrouded in mystery and marvel, as the human female body performs and produces a next generation to the world. And to be privileged to be part of that, of this miracle, albeit sometimes very sad, assisting women to bring forth this new life. It is amazing that the strength and power of women is so underestimated. Here is where the Cosmic Madonna painting that is shrouded in symbolism represents Mother through the mystical circles to me. Separate and yet connected, each circle full of the mystery, of the mystical. Some circles are becoming less defined, others more prominent through colour and size. My life being in mostly a female environment meant I was challenged to find a way to express myself in the world. This grounding has given me strength and courage to expand into the world, reinventing myself in response to those environments and what was experienced. Circles ever widening, circles that built on each other, are related to each other and interconnected, and such is the theme of the painting. Through my partnership and marriage to Jim, an ever widening circle with his discovery of Mundane over 40,000 years ago, I was challenged, often struggling with this, really, as someone who's still much in the mundane world of raising children, etc. However, I was called into this circle and have been profoundly changed by it, enriched my own sense of history and place in this country, and the mystery indeed of those ancient voices, peoples whose artwork spoke in circles some 30 or 40,000 years ago. The paradox of the mundane and the mystical I know only too well. In a daily sense, Jim, husband, was living in a mystical world, and I was raising the children. How do we weave these two worlds together, such as Dali has challenged us to do? Upon reflection, perhaps we were doing it so unconsciously. Mundane has triggered my imagination, probably because of my connection to the feminine and strong women in my life. And on the other hand, the image of the Madonna was ever present in my home, schools, and Catholic institutions, and was one of those reminders of the comforting power of Mary, the Madonna, a power stronger than oneself. Mungo Lady, on the other hand, has brought the mundane and the mystical together for me, grounded in the earth, allowing herself to be found to tell her story. Grasping the time span of 42,000 years is extremely difficult. And yet in this mystery, we are introduced to a story of human occupation that has survived this incredible continuous lifespan. She was the first to change the course of human history, presenting as a modern human being. Is this painting challenging us to refresh and review our role as women by using our untapped wealth of knowledge and experience to take on the mission to join the new earth rising? The divine feminine has always been there. It is now resurfacing through our collective awareness. This is a marvelous opportunity to weave these worlds together, like the painting suggests, offering new scope for understanding that the mundane and the mystical are deeply connected, and for us to learn how to walk together, as the Indigenous people say, in two worlds. Thank you.
Beautiful, Mum. Beautiful. Such a beautiful message from the heart, from your life of service, devoted to others and lived. You've been such an extraordinary mother, as you say, to me and to many others. But this is a beautiful moment, Mum, to be here at such a, we heard from Duncan and from Rihanna and the others, such a pivotal moment in the whole journey of the last thousands years. And we go back to, as you're referencing Mungo Lady, 43,000 years ago, we're in this deep time moment of now, and to get to experience that with you as my mum in this moment, of course, is very special and is a great privilege. And we're thinking about preparing for this and looking at the word Madonna and that its origin really is my lady, and realizing, as you've just mentioned, these figures, Mother Mary and Mungo Lady and these others that have played such extraordinary roles for you and in a way your lineage. To have you share that here today in this platform, in this particular event, is very beautiful. You did a beautiful job. I'm very proud to be your son, Mum, and very, very proud of you as you continue to grow and develop and to become even more gracious through time. So well done, love, and it's very special to be here with you.
Thank you, Ben. And you have fulfilled the dreams that you've been dreaming, and I've been part of your dream. And that's been part of the Unity Earth team. So it's a collective effort, which is beautiful.
Yes.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And whilst I'm not a public speaker, I was challenged to do this. But I thought, well, as John Raymer keeps saying, you've got to keep saying yes. So that's,
Wow.
and this was a wonderful opportunity to share, well, and to listen to all the beautiful people before me, whose breadth and scope of knowledge is amazing. I'm so grateful for that.
Beautiful. Well, we're really blessed by an incredibly strong feminine leadership, Mum, in this movement, and right across the board. Again, you can look at Becky, Susie, Karina Morrison, Cara Stonehouse, Anna Marie Vahova, who are central in World Unity Week, and then beyond that to all the incredible speakers on this panel, and beyond that, there are just so many, too many to name them all. But as I was reflecting on this, this is in so many ways a feminine-led movement. And it's also Indigenous informed, Indigenous wisdom informed and led. And increasingly, we're committed to being more informed from the youth. So all of these aspects, I think, are great signs of a new earth rising and coming into being. And this feminine rising is a critical component of that. So thank you for your leadership and for your love and for your lessons, Mum, for so many of us. I know you are an inspiration to so many right around the world. So thank you, darling. And any final thing you want to say before we introduce our next speaker?
Well, I just think it's an absolute privilege, Ben, to be part of such an amazing group of people. And whilst I am connected to many, many groups in my life, which we all have other lives besides Unity Earth, this just added a great strength and breadth of wisdom and connection for me. And sometimes I feel 10 foot tall from what I learn. I'm still learning, Ben, still learning.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, certainly no other life than Unity Earth this week. Perhaps outside of this week, we might have some other aspects. But we're going to go now to another amazing feminine leader, which is incredible, Sherry Herndon. And Sherry's involved in so many extraordinary projects and enabling the feminine to rise and the new earth to rise and the partnerships to rise. Sherry, it's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much. It really is an honor to follow Ben and Joan. They are such a quintessential example of a mother and a son. And I love hearing your story, Joan. It's really powerful. I didn't know some of that at all. And what a blessing to have been convened by the Cosmic Madonna. I mean, that's really what I feel like has happened here. And that in and of itself is a really telling sign of like, what are we capable of when we actually listen? And I really want to honor everyone here and Janice and Linda and others who were like listening and being guided, because it's true that what's happening is that we are birthing an evolutionary, coherent new earth, as some describe it. And out of that, what happens is that, and the necessity to create that is the emergence of a more evolved human. And that's really this combination of the feminine and the masculine in greater harmony. And when I think about like ultimately what are we doing is, I feel like we are restoring universal harmony, remembering universal harmony. And in order for that to happen, it's like we have to fall in love with our essence, which is really about how we have to sink into our love of life. This is like we are life givers. As women, we are life givers. Out of the womb come all men and women. And through that, it feels so important to kind of name that we are given this natural attunement to the cosmic intelligence, which we have had diminished, as Rian was naming earlier. It's like been so diminished by having only one part of ourselves be prioritized. And so now as we get to like expand more greatly into our larger cosmic intelligence, we can see that we are becoming the generator function, or as Barbara Marx Hubbard would say, a new social function in culture of love and partnership. And so something is being revealed to us that is the restoration of that which has been lost for 2,000 years. And in one way of putting it, 25 books were kept out of the canon as we know it, out of the Bible, kept hidden. And this was so much knowledge and wisdom that was in those books. And I feel like Dali was very prescient, and I think that that's been articulated really well, and others as well, that this is being restored. And it means that it's restoring our intimacy with all life and healing the masculine and the feminine, that divine union, the partnership, the wholeness, unity. Today, we're honoring the frequency of unity, and that's wholeness and direct connection, which opens us up to powers beyond our imagination, which is why we're speaking about we are birthing a new human. People have called this Homo luminous, Homo universalis, Homo sanctus. However you want to speak about that, it's putting us at the threshold of a collective initiation. So we have to step into those feminine capacities, and the masculine are like receiving those feminine capacities, and women standing up more powerfully into our own voices. Because for so long, we were told that we were separate from the source, and that we needed intermediaries. And that's no longer the case, that the power was outside of us. It's not. It's inside of us. And that is now requiring a total rewriting of the operating system of humanity, which is a very big mission, but it's one we all signed up for. And we could call that a partnership culture. We could say that we're creating this new operating system for humanity, starting right here within us and between us. And when we think about the somatic awareness of the feminine's in tuneness with the body's intelligence and those intuitive, imaginative powers, that is telling us that it's the time of prophecies come alive and coming into their fruition. So that, along with recognizing prophecies are being born now, not like we're reading them and someday they will be, but there actually are. And I remember when Paul Hawkins said many years ago at Bioneers that if you were in the midst of a spiritual awakening, would you recognize it? So I think I'll just leave it there and pass it on to the next person, but thank you so much.
Wow. Time for reflections. But first of all, I did not introduce myself in the beginning because I wanted to dive right into the embodiment of this panel, but I'm the founder of Natural Network International. Janice Hall, a social alchemist and synergistic culture and business ecosystem designer. So I spend a lot of my time living in the future and trying to imagine that I have sort of the machete in the jungle, helping to open a pathway for all of us to walk together into the future selves that we would like to create. You know, Dali was known to be future predictive. You know, his work with some of his paintings, the atom bomb, he predicted DNA before it was ever even recognized and scientifically consummated as a as a scientific principle. And then going back to something that several have made note of in the Catholic religion, both Ben and Joan and even Sherry here, that Mary was originally the peasant woman, and it took till 1950 for Pope Pius XII. He issued the Munificentissimus Deus. And this was during the time that Dali was in process with the Cosmic Madonna, which took him 9 years to paint. He was fascinated with Raphael and the Sistine Madonna, and he saw something deeper and did not have the ability to paint it initially, so it took 9 years. This doctrine that the Pope issued in 1950 gives Mary a raised stature for the first time. It proclaimed her divinely revealed. In this dogma, it says that she completed the course of her life and was assumed, body and soul, into heavenly glory. So that means that she sits at the side of the Father in heavenly glory, not below, but by the side of the Father. And the other, weaving back to Dali and the future predictive of this, he talks during this time of this being a pi-mesonical explosion, as you see this one side of the painting seemingly dissolving. A pi mason is a subatomic particle, and it's the lightest mason, and it is an important component of cosmic rays. So coming into form at the same time, could the Cosmic Madonna be dematerializing into a cosmic ray, or is the cosmic ray downloading into form? Can her cosmic depiction actually signify the liberation of all women, but also allow for the emerging feminine in concept in all humans, both men and women? And as we know, the feminine embodies a more collaborative, community-minded approach to living. And could we posit that this intuitive, creative, qualitative, big picture thinking is necessary for humanity in order to face the challenges of our time? And one last interesting note, according to the University of Dayton, the 20th century has been rich in more reported apparitions of the Blessed Mother than ever before from every continent across the globe by both men and women. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Rian for a few reflections from you.
Well, thank you so much. There's so much to say. I want to focus on this sacred union and on gender, because we have been taught that, oh, well, gender, that's just a women's issue, right? Or just a gender issue. Actually, what my work shows and what we've been talking about here is that it is a primary social, economic, and family, and everything else organizing principle. And the old society, as Maria Gimbutas called it, old Europe, there was a recognition of the sacred marriage. There's a plaque, for example, of which is considered one of the earliest plaques of the sacred marriage of a woman and a man in embrace. And then at Çatalhöyük, which is one of the early and Duncan mentioned this, it lasted well into the early Neolithic or farming age, okay? And in Çatalhöyük, there's another plaque of a woman and man in embrace, and then next to them is the woman holding a baby in her arms. So that's also a lesson, I suppose, in reproduction, right? In sex education. But the hymns of Inanna, even into historic times, and I really talk about them a lot in Sacred Pleasure, and I really recommend that book to you because it's a very personal book, and at the same time, it traces the transformation from partnership to domination of the sacred imagery, including how Mary becomes demoted for such a long time, as in this very strange Holy Family, where only the Father and the Son, the males, are divine, and she's the only mortal. I mean, this makes absolutely no sense, but it makes a lot of sense in terms of the mythology, the myths that are appropriate for domination systems. So this rising of the feminine is not some quirky thing. Talking about the sacred marriage, I mean, that's a historic reality that we have to reconnect to our true selves. And in nurturing our humanity, I draw a great deal from neuroscience. And what it really shows is that actually we humans, biologically, genetically, are really more appropriate for what I call partnership rather than domination systems. Why? Because the so-called pleasure centers of our brains actually light up more when we share, when we give, than when we win or dominate. Think about that. So this is really reclaiming our humanity, nurturing our humanity. And there's so much more. And that's why I write these books rather than just talking about it, because we have to start connecting the dots and to stop thinking of childhood and of gender as just ancillary matters. These are core matters. And we have an economic system, by the way, that we've inherited, which not only are women who do most of the care work devalued, but so is the care work itself. Caring is not really recognized unless it's in the market, but not in families. I mean, think of that. It's crazy, isn't it? But that's what we've inherited. That's what we can change and must change. So I think, again, I have my 5 minutes here. If I have more time, I just want to say one other thing. I was deeply moved by all of you, and Joan, and then a mother and a son who really are engaged in this. Sherry, of course, you are wonderful, Anasuya, and of course, Janet and Duncan. I mean, all of you, you're just really in the forefront of this shift. It's not only a shift in consciousness, it is a shift in our families, all the way to our families of nations. So that's how I want to leave it. Thank you.
Amazing, Rian. Thank you, Rian Eisler, for being with us. You bless us greatly with your presence, and your work is so important. I want to put out another shout out for your new book, Nurturing Our Humanity, How Domination and Partnership Shape Our Brains, Lives, and Future. I think one of the things in your work, Rian, and that we're hearing really from everybody here on this panel today, is the essential aspect of partnership. You know, I remember I have an older sister who's actually here with us in the room, Jenny, who I grew up with. Jenny was doing incredible pioneering work with goddess programs and feminine programs, and did incredible pioneering work. But one thing that the tone and the note now that we're hearing of this partnership, and I think it's coming from everybody, is this recognition. Even though you wrote The Chalice and the Blade in 1987, Rihanna, was a long time ago, but it takes time for the masses to kind of catch up to the visionaries. So I think that what we're hearing now is this song of partnership, and that the DNA of the new earth is partnership, and you can characterize it in so many different ways. Partnership with the divine, partnership between male and female, yin and yang, all of these, but the big general understanding and acceptance that we're in this together, that everything is interconnected. We now have the Hollow movement, which is an important building upon the philosophies of David Bohm, and indigenous wisdom, which is being celebrated like never before. I mean, now the change now around the world of how we look at indigenous cultures and indigenous wisdom over the last 15, 20 years is profound. And this rising of the feminine is an essential aspect of what is really the new song for the new earth. And so, Rihanna, I say your pioneering work on partnership has really paved the field and paved the ground for us today. So we honor you, and we're so grateful to have you with us. And we encourage everybody to read and study your work. So partnership, we go forward, supporting each other, listening to each other, learning from each other, allowing each other to lead, women, children, all different cultures, races coming together in this great song of partnership, of togetherness, of union, and of unity. Today's theme is oneness. And so I think that is so perfect as we reflect on the rising feminine in partnership with the divine masculine and the inherent unity and oneness of reality. As we embrace that ever deeper, ever more, then that lights the pathway forward for the evolution of humanity and for the establishment of the new earth. And so I'd like to throw to my mother again. What a privilege, what a joy it is to be able to do this with you, Mum, and your reflections.
And thank you, Ben. And I'm thrilled to share with you these wonderful experiences. My reflections, or for me, I have the privilege now of being able to practice with my many personal opportunities for connection to the concept of the Hollow movement, my experience of group travel in sacred places, meeting people with different experiences, and bringing the sacred into the mundane. The simple things like respect, kindness, empathy, and presence we can offer to each other. As Dali's painting has movement, color, and shape in the form of mystical circles to me, maybe the future was talking to him. And is it possible that we are the future he was talking about? Thank you, Ben. Sherry.
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the reflection. I wanted to share something. Years ago, I was at a Quaker meeting, and there was a Humbotsman, a Mayan elder. This is in the mid-90s. And I remember, the one thing that I remember is he said, the world will not be healed until men and women come together in harmony. And at the time, I really didn't get it. I liked it. I thought it made some deep intuitive sense to me. I understood it, but I didn't get it at that deepest level. Now I get it, because that wholeness and that oneness and that harmony, all of that is so close. And I really want to invite us all to feel how close it is. And for a moment, I want to invoke a great mother, Barbara Marx Hubbard, who was a friend and a colleague and a co-creator of mine and mentor for a long time. And she had 52 codes, and one of them is code 17, ask boldly and deeply for your greatest heart's desire, for coded in that desire is the blueprint of your evolutionary potential. So can you feel how you are yearning for this partnership and that everything around you, that wholeness is also wants that as well? It's like both direction. The partnership wants it, the harmony, the synarchy, that ultimate communion with life and with each other. So it's really important that we feel it. And I want us I want to invite you to just feel that feminine within you rising to meet the masculine within you, ready to receive. So we have so many gifts as women. I love that Rion named like that our economic paradigm is so out of whack. I can't wait till it comes into greater harmony, because the gifts as mothers, as the qualities of mother are needed now more than ever. And I loved for so long, since 2010, when the Dalai Lama was at the Vancouver Peace Summit, and he made a comment about the world will be saved by Western women. And I believe that that is what we're talking about here, that the world will be saved by Western women. And so as we are remembering how Duncan was talking about his living dialogues, that we're in an intimacy with life, and we're opening up more of our channels as we aren't repressed by them, and we can feel them all and feel our wholeness, that we are in a living dialogue with life, and more of our potential gets to be revealed, and we get to support each other in partnership, bringing each other up into more of our mutual flourishing. Because as the South Africans say, that, Ubuntu, I flourish, I'm going to change it a little bit, because you flourish. So I'll just pass it on to Duncan for more living dialogue and sharing. So thank you so much, everyone.
Well, Sherry, thank you so much for sharing. And I have to say, everyone here has been just so beautifully communicating. And really, it reminds me of the motto of my program, Living Dialogues, which is co-creative dialogue and personal story sharing is the language of evolutionary transformation. So it's this participatory story sharing where someone else has a story to share or an insight to make, and it sparks one in oneself, and then it keeps sparking on, and it grows like a pebble in a pond. And so I just wanted to share some other resources here as we conclude. I just thought, for instance, Rianne Eisler's TED Talk and book on the real wealth of nations, creating a caring economy, is really spot on. And my wife and I, my wife Edna Brillin, a Haida matrilineal First Nations person, we did a special Mother's Day program on May 14, just 2-3 weeks ago, last month. And you can get it at kgnu.org/living dialogues. If you wanted to put in /5/14/2023, you can, or just scroll down to it, because it's all about a calling back a matrilineal, but not necessarily matriarchal at all, but a tradition where it's an economy of caring, an economy of sharing, an economy of generosity. It's called the potlatch, and she describes it very well from her own experience, and it really fits the bill as a model for how we can learn so much from ongoing indigenous cultures and their way of being, like the Andean culture, which I was able to be initiated in to some degree 20 years ago. They have the word Yanantin, Yanantin. It means the dynamic balance between feminine and masculine. And the word Aini, Ayni, which means their version of we are all connected, and it's all our relations, and everything is alive in the universe. Everything is alive. So I want to also then mention, in terms of Mary, that there have been statistically more than 386 sightings of Mary in the 20th century and beyond alone, and it tracks on the graph the increasing problem of climate change. So it's really very much in the feminine version of what Krishna said to Arjuna. I only manifest in the human heart, in the Gita, and I only manifest in times of crisis where transformation is pending. And so here we think of Jung saying all transformation goes through the body of the feminine. And I guess one other thing I could say here is that we are birthing together and even midwifing a new reality, bringing back what Rianne so well called our suppressed humanity. We have, from the beginning, it is our heritage in our psychic DNA as well as our physical DNA, the experience of a fully alive universe and all of our relations working together in harmony and egalitarianism as they did in that period of first settlement.
Coming up.
So that's it. Thank you all very much. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here. And last thing, my YouTube channel has a program on now relevant to this.
Thank you, everyone. And greetings, Unity Earth friends. My name is Victoria Friedman, and I'm co-founder with Dr. Ron Friedman of Vistar View, nonprofit organization begun in 1994. And that word Vistar View is very important to us because the Vistar View points to the perspective that we are not a person looking up and reaching for a star. Consciousness is primary, and we are that star consciousness looking out from the star. I'd like to begin to say a few words about Salvador Dali. In my degree of fine arts, I took art history, and that comprised of looking at many, many, many images of paintings, architecture, sculpture, many paintings, one after another. And the instructor told us about their date, the political situation, the cultural implications of that time, where the source of their paints and their canvases. So it was a lot for memory, a real challenge to my memory. But I do remember one thing from a Dali painting, the persistence of memory. Perhaps you know the painting. It's a painting with these clocks that are warping over. They're just melting. And on the canvas, there are clocks with ants all over them. So this was very unusual compared to Raphael's Madonna. And, I just remember, I don't remember the date. I don't remember the culture. I don't remember the politics. But I do remember that there was a spark in me that said told us something of the future. And that is that, perhaps time isn't as strong and as solid as I think it is. So here we are to consider the Cosmic Madonna. I looked up the word cosmic, and cosmic meaning an inconceivable vastness. An inconceivable vastness. That stopped me in my tracks. Since that moment, I have not stopped thinking about it through all our preparations here. To take a look at that, just consider that for a little bit, inconceivable vastness. And so it's the same with the Cosmic Madonna, the Madonna of inconceivable vastness. So we know that art uses its imagery to point beyond itself, to give us an experience of a larger reality. And here, we're not speaking of the physical form of a person called a woman. The Madonna is not a body, certainly not a small object we appear to be. In his mystical vision, Dali took off from Raphael's traditional painting of the Madonna and related the concept of Madonna as having the same reality as a cosmic particle, a basic unit of creation at its most fundamental level. Now, right here, right now, we are the perception to the Cosmic Madonna. It is not in the past, it is not on Google, it is not in the history of the culture. It is right here, right now, with us. And as Sherry said at the beginning, what is it? What is she saying to us now? So now we are experiencing a breaking apart of society as we know it, the polarization of opposites, religions, nationality, races, and most tragic, in gender. Our duality has played out the most tragic ways, as Rian will totally tell us. And if you read the book, you will know so much that you couldn't imagine. To me, the Cosmic Madonna is pointing to our freedom from identification with our female body as who we think we are. We are recognizing the truth of our cosmic nature beyond gender. Also, at this time, more fluid forms are emerging, more spiritual, more universal, and new earth is rising. In this setting, we begin to see the magnitude of the Cosmic Madonna. She is the unbounded creativity, the creative force moving the new earth rising. She is the divine universal principle whose care and wisdom holds the living earth in her infinite presence. To live in the bosom of the Madonna is freedom from being confined to a limited view of who we are. Now, every idea, every divine idea has a physical manifestation in the great drama on earth, a symbolic clue to its source and higher panorama. And we women who manifest on earth this mysterious, magnificent form, woman, female, Madonna, our form is held by inconceivable vastness of the Cosmic Madonna. We cannot discover that vastness. We can only recognize it as what we are. We are holding ourselves. It is for us to embrace the earth rising in our arms of love. Blessings.
Thank you so much, Victoria, and all those who have come before, sharing such juicy, delightful, scrumptious pieces of wisdom. Thank you. My name is Anasuya. It rhymes with hallelujah. And I am called the Mystic Midwife because one of my charges in this incarnation is to support by midwifing, like Joan, our consciousness into remembrance of its divinity so that we can return to our sovereign selves. So I facilitate that process using the arts, using spiritual rituals, using joy. And I also am someone who is not only dedicated to and in service of the Black Madonna, I'm a devotee. And one of the things that strikes me as the importance of the embodiment of the divine called the Black Madonna is why she is and why she is different from what is known as the white Madonna. And what I learned in my travels and in speaking to people in many countries from their experiences of her, why they continue to worship her, they all speak of a relationship with what is called the white Madonna as the access, our intercessor to get into heaven. She is the one that makes sure that all the things that could stop us from being able to get into heaven are taken care of. But when they go to the Black Madonna, they're going to their Mother Earth. They're going to the one who knows what it's like to be on this planet in a human body with flaws, with vulnerabilities, with frailties, with oppression and persecution. They go to her for how to live in an unlivable situation, how to have justice where there is none in sight, how to have children and have them survive, how to eat and survive plagues and wars. The Black Madonna was the embodiment of being soulfully here, present in your body, sensual and alive. She protected the marginalized, the invisible, the ones the feudal lords kept their feet on the necks. And I think it's important to remember that aspect of the Cosmic Mother because we have so many challenges today that reflect the same needs as the ones that the people went to for thousands of years. Today in America is a holiday that many people don't understand, but I do, as I've been celebrating it for all my life, and it's called Juneteenth. And that is the day when a large section of people who were enslaved found out that actually emancipation happened 2 years prior. So this group of slaves in Texas were purposely kept in servitude and in slavery because they could be. And I want us to think about how many people are enslaved today, whether they be because they're domestic workers, whether they be because they're working on modern day chain gangs in prisons, whether they be slaves in the Middle East or North Africa. There's so many ways people don't have liberation. We can't have peace or unity while we are okay with such a hierarchy of domination that allows freedom to be a joke or even not even something they could aspire to. Who are we in the matter of justice? Who are we in the matter of making sure that all women who want to have a child can actually do so without dying? Because in America, Black women cannot have children without possibly dying. The injustices are so much around us. What are we doing about that? Yes, we have a cosmic mother. Yes, we have the possibility of sacred union and partnership. But are you willing to talk to people you don't know, who are of a different race, who speak a different language? Are you willing to partner with the other? Because until we do that, there ain't gonna be no peace. And there won't be any unity. There'll just be blah, 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 blah. And for so many people, that's their experience. A lot of talking heads, but no food in their belly. Flint today still has no clean water. So let us remember, you can talk about it, cheer about it, but what are you doing about it? What group can you today go join hands with in these 99 days of peace? What group can you partner with to say, I am going to join you and do something about it? Because that's what this invitation is today. Take the next step. You can read, you can learn, but faith without works is dead. Get in action because you really are needed and you're needed now. Thank you. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to pass it to. Oh my Lord. Janice, okay. Janice.
Janice, dear, you need to unmute.
Thank you, Anastasia, for evoking action, because it is with that action that we make a difference. But it starts from within. So I ask, as we close, for each of us to take the time, because it is time to embody our cosmic, time to embody our conscious partnership with the Cosmic Madonna in ourselves, because that's where it begins. This is our starting point to expand our ability to co-create in partnership with each other and the natural world. That is a key. This is so critical to an evolutionary, coherent new Earth. Could this that we're speaking about here today signify the emergence of the new evolved human? Together, let us welcome our cosmic nature and its inconceivable vastness as we step lovingly with open eyes, open hearts, and action into the great mystery in unity as the new Earth rises. Thank you all for taking this journey with us tonight. May this only be the beginning.
Oh.